Chapter 20 from A Boy at War by Harry Mazer. Those next days were strange and agonizingly long, not because so much happened, but because almost nothing happened. They were waiting. The radio was on all day, and his mother was on the phone constantly, talking to the other Navy wives. "Rumors," she told Adam. "That's all I'm hearing." "Yeah, scuttlebutt," he said. She nodded. "Not a single fact." What was fact was that they were at war, and the Army had taken control, and martial law was in effect throughout the islands. Everything was closed. Banks, schools, government offices. There was a call for blood donors, and his mother had gone. All true facts, and it was true that workmen were cutting holes in the bottom of the Oklahoma searching for men trapped inside. Every story he and his mother heard about a rescue lifted their spirits. But the other stuff, the stories about the Japanese civilians in Hawaii, that they were using their cars to block traffic on the Kamehameha Highway, and that fishermen were signaling to a Japanese fleet off the coast, and that Japanese paratroopers had already landed. All rumors. The one that got his mother laughing was the barking dog story. Dogs trained to bark in Morse code, sending messages to offshore Japanese submarines. "Do you believe anyone could take that seriously?" "We're like a bunch of headless chickens," his mother said. "Of course they could land, but how are they going to support a landing force? How are they going to keep ammunition and supplies coming? It's too far-fetched. An airstrike is one thing, but this..." She sounded like his father giving one of his lectures on military strategy and the iron rules of war. She had that look now. If you wanted to convince her, you better make sense. That first morning, Mrs. Parker had come flying through the hedge separating their houses to tell them that she had heard from her husband. "I spoke to him, Marilyn. He's okay. He wasn't on his ship." She was so excited she could hardly breathe. "He was at headquarters when it started. Didn't get a scratch. He watched the whole thing from a window." "Oh, wonderful," Adam's mother said. Mrs. Parker's expression changed. "Oh, Marilyn, maybe it's a sign. I told him to find out about Emery. You'll have good news, too, very soon. I know you will." "Wonderful," his mother said again. If there was ever a tear, if his mother had cried, she wiped it before he could see. "We don't know," she kept saying to Adam. "We won't know anything for sure till the Navy tells us, and not a word to Bea." But not once did Bea ask about their father. She was used to his being gone. Who she missed was Kaneko, who had disappeared after the attack. "When is he coming?" Bea asked. "Who's going to play with me? Adam, will you play with me?" She handed him a ballerina costume to put on one of her paper dowels. "You don't do it right," she said. "Not like Kaneko. Where's Kaneko, Mama?" "The buses aren't running this week," his mother said, giving Adam a warning look. "Kaneko will come soon." An airplane went over, and they stopped and listened. "Not Japanese," Bea said, looking at Adam. "Smart kid," he said, "sticky brain." And he thought about Davy, and Martin too. Were they okay? He wanted to see them, but he didn't want to leave his mother. She might hear something about his father. Adam would see Davy when he went back to school. But school stayed closed. Everything had changed. He was sleeping in his mother's room now, on the folding cot by the door. He kept the rifle underneath the cot. "Why are you sleeping here?" Bea asked the first night. "I'm guarding you." "You're a guard dog?" "Mr. Guard Dog to you." Bea giggled. She had the best giggle. She could always make him laugh. That hadn't changed. A week after the attack, Adam went looking for Hideko's shovel in the garden shed. He was rested and restless and needed to do something. In the garden, he began digging an air raid shelter, one of the things they'd been encouraged to do. The digging was harder than he expected, and he stopped a lot. Leaning on the shovel, he lost himself watching the shadows of the palm trees darting back and forth on the roof. Davy was the first person he'd ever met who talked about light. Adam had never thought about it before Davy. He never thought about air either and being able to breathe. But was there anything better than breath? He remembered Martin and the stick in his chest and the way it had moved with every breath. And then he thought about his father trapped inside the Arizona. Him and all those men in that suffocating darkness. He filled his lungs. He breathed. He breathed again. He couldn't get enough air.